anytime I see a name, that's when I know to stop and say, I'm going to ask myself a who question at that point.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Anytime I see a name or a repeated name that's unfamiliar to me. Also, I'm going to stop anytime I see an interaction between two characters. I think that's more of a what question, though, right?
Yeah, but no, but I mean, you're right. You're getting more to like comprehension strategy, which I don't really know as much. Like that, you're definitely putting in that comprehension strategy.
So I think for them to master this, to know, ultimately you want them to be able to ask 5 who, I think also what, if you're doing direct and indirect characterization. Who and what are 2 questions. Then you want them to identify 1 to 2 pieces of textual evidence to answer the RT question, and then determine whether the evidence is direct or indirect, and then explain how stopping to ask that question and find the evidence helps them visualize and understand the character. Right, so I'm reading this, so the thing I did was, so I think first, let's imagine our end of student response from Miracle again. We would hear her say, what was the piece that you started out with?
What did you do? What did you learn?
Yeah, and what'd she say? Yeah.
She said we learned how to read for characterization.
Okay.
How to ask questions. It helps understand characters.
By asking.
Yeah, asking a question.
What kind of question?
Who and what question.
Great. Then I'm going to say, well, how do you do that miracle? And what would she say?
I don't have that covered. Yeah, you would stop every time you see a new character.
For who questions, we stop or pause when we see a new character. And get slower in our reading to gather evidence, right? Just like a stranger. If a stranger walks by me, I'm going to give him a good eye up and down.
Right.
That's how I would model this for students. Like when I'm reading and I see Miss Teeny's name, I don't know who Miss Teeny is. I don't know if I trust Miss Teeny or I love Miss Teeny.
Right.
And I need to have the text help me figure out which one I should choose.
Right.
So I'm going to stop and pause when I see one and go slower to gather info. And then find text evidence. And then determine whether they are good, bad, neutral. Like whether that evidence is good, bad, neutral. We're going to start developing our opinion. This is for our direct most of the time, right? This is where they're going to say, like, how is she acting? Nah, I guess that's indirect. Direct and indirect. Remember that. The what questions. We ask these 2 kinds of questions to help us understand characterization. When do we stop? You read this one, Polly and Amari. Is Amari there?
Yeah.
Polly and Amari. What would you look for? Ask a what question. What question would we ask here?
Yeah, who did what, right?
So we look for what types of things. When do we pause and get slower?
I don't know.
Read it again. Let's try. This would be super. Once you do good grade at this, you're very smart and you're.
I like to do bench at the bench and notice the Marty the same. I picked up her spoon and noted with disgusting that Marty put her hand in the bowl and greedily scooped the food into her mouth. Table manners she simply added to the long list of possible tasks ahead of her. So my question is what here?
So your question is, so you see like, ask me a what question about this. What's the what question you would ask as a reader?
What caused Polly to think about a long list of impossible tasks ahead of her?
Great. So what kind of action is that from Polly?
It's a thought.
So we look for character thoughts. and we look for interactions between characters, right?
Right.
And then we slow down, gather evidence, and then we determine, same thing as here, same exact thing. But the two things, so miracle. What did you learn? I learned to read for characterization by asking who and what questions. Well, this is always going to be something you're going to think about from the student level. What did you learn? How do you do it? So you want to think about that being answered. So in who, I stop and pause when I see a new character, I get slow, and then I gather evidence and decide my opinion about them. For what, I look for interactions between characters or characters' thoughts that I look for characters thinking about things. I look to see inside their mind, and I look for their interaction with other people. So this is very much steel. And when I see an interaction happening between characters, I slow down, and I'm deciding, just like strangers, people in book, I'm getting to know them, and I need to observe what's happening between them to see if I like them. I gather evidence, and then I determine where it falls into my spectrum of characterization. So then Miracle, I would feel really confident in Miracle's ability to then go through and identify who questions and what questions. The first thing would be when to ask it, how to, like, what to ask, and then how to find text evidence. So each time you have the what, the how, then you, when, what, how.
Gotcha.
Every time.
Yeah, it makes a little more sense.
Talk me through. So what we would want to do is